and welcome to You Write, the podcast where creativity meets community.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
Each week on You Write, we challenge our listeners to write a story in just 30 minutes, using 3 of 5 randomly generated words.
It's a fun and fast-paced exercise to spark your imagination and get those creative juices flowing.
We'll read your submissions, offer feedback, and discuss the unique twists and turns of each story.
Whether you're an aspiring author or just love a good tale, You Write is your place to explore the endless possibilities of storytelling.
So grab the end of someone's braid and an inkwell and get comfortable.
And remember, the only limit is your imagination and 30 minutes. So let's see what you got. That's so cruel. Pigtails as the utensil?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Not your own, someone else's.
Well, it could be your own.
Did you? Oh, yeah. I don't guess you specified someone else's pigtails.
No,
okay.
no. I just said the end of someone's braid. So it doesn't have to be a pigtail even. It could be just a single braid.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a ponytail braid.
Oh. I have no follow-up.
I was waiting. I was like, where are you going to take this next?
So how you doing?
Oh, I am doing well. I got in trouble at work today and yesterday.
Oh.
Oh, shit.
Better put a pin in that.
I know, at both of my jobs.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. So yesterday at my college job, well, I had students who skipped class on essay writing day last week. And so obviously I had to send them to the computer lab to write their essays, type their essays while I was teaching class to the other students.
You didn't reserve the lab, did you?
No, that wasn't the problem because it's never being used at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but then right after class, the 3 students who were supposed to hand me their essays, 2 of them did. And then one of them couldn't get the printer to work. So,
as printers do.
Right. And so I go to the computer lab. I look, it's jammed. I unjammed it. And it kept, every time that we tried to print it, it kept jamming again.
Cool. Printers. Lovely.
Yeah. And I took paper out of the tray in case it was overfilled. You know, that's the only thing I did. But did several things, but no. I just did that a few times. And it just kept not working. But then I had the student just save her essay on that computer, you know, and then we're going to get back to it tomorrow. But then later in the day, and I left. And I know that there's a class in there next, but it's a lady who teaches her whole class in the computer lab.
Oh, yeah.
So I figured that it was a simple thing and she could just, you know, fix it. Was it? So then later in the day, I get an email from my boss and she was like, "Hey, Rachel,
you fucked up."
She was like, Kay, the person who teaches after you in the computer lab, she wasn't able to get the printer to work and she knew that your students had been in there and I don't know how she knew that. But then she was like, and she spent quite a bit of time trying to fix the printer. And I was like, damn, I thought this was like a computer lab lady. And she spent quite a bit of time. And she was like, yeah, so if y'all could just use somewhere else next time. It was almost like, well, I've used that computer lab a zillion times. And the teacher who taught this class before me has used it for years. And I'm like, really? One fuck up and you're like, well, and banishing me?
It doesn't even sound like anything that you or your students did. It's just a failure of a printer, which is like expected.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So to pass any blame onto any individual for the fact that a printer isn't working is asinine.
No, totally. And I wasn't in there to monitor them, so I don't know what they were doing, but I do know that...
that's fair. They cram a hot dog into the printer.
It's possible. Not likely, but possible. And so I'm just like, okay, first of all, I'm confused about why this lady was dealing with it for quite some time. And she does her whole class in the computer lab. Like, it seemed like a simple fix that I didn't know because I don't do my whole class in the computer lab. I only go there like 3 times a semester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And secondly, wow. So 1 strike and we're out. And I kind of felt like they were being prejudiced against us because we're international, not me, but they.
Okay.
They. And I feel like this lady that teaches after me is not super nice because I've heard some stories from my students. I was just like, damn. And so I messaged her back and I was like, she was like, I think your students messed up the printer or something. And I messaged my boss back and I was like, well, actually, I was in there with them and 2 of them stayed with the girl who couldn't print her paper, trying to get it to work for her.
Resolve the issue.
Yes. Yeah. So actually, there were 4 of us working on it. Yeah. And my mistake was that I didn't tell someone, which the only person I would have known to tell is the front desk lady who also knows nothing about computers. Mm-hmm. So I could have stopped by the office on the way out and been like, hey, this printer isn't working. Deal with it. You know,
hey, come over here, fix this shit.
Right. But I didn't. And so I wrote my boss back and I was like, well, we've been using this the whole time that I've been working here. We've never had a problem. And also I apologize for not reporting it to the secretary lady.
Also, technology, specifically printers, like, suck.
Right.
They are so bad.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole meme culture around just the Office Space scene of them smashing a printer to death. Like,
they're expected to fuck up.
Yeah. And when they do, the only thing you can do is bash them with bats.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's the only tech support I know for printers.
Favorite scene in Office Space.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so it and she tried to be like, your students fucked up, but I was like, no, I also fucked up. I was in there with them. But then she was like, oh, okay, I guess that's why the other teacher was so upset, because she didn't know that it was jammed. I was like, what? How? But plus, I didn't know what was wrong with it either. Anyway, so that happened, and I was like, and I was really having to hold my tongue to not be sarcastic. But I was a little bit sarcastic, but so lightly that she doesn't know me well enough to know that I was being sarcastic. Okay. But I was like, I wanted to say beseech or implore, but I was like, I hope that you will reconsider our relocation as far as printing goes, because this is the first time anything like this has happened. And I want to ask you to give us another chance.
That just sounds polite.
Yeah, but I was actually seething with sarcasm when I wrote
malice.
it. Yeah, because I wanted to be like, can you pretty please give us another chance? I'm so sorry that one time in years, the computer jammed while me and my students were using it. I implore you to have mercy on us.
Rolls eyes.
Seriously. Anyway, so that happened. And then today, my boss at my other job was like, hey, somebody reported that when you were bending over, they saw a hole in your pants.
Okay.
And the fact of the matter is, there is a hole in my pants.
Maybe use that as proof that I'm underpaid.
Right. Exactly. Because then she was like, I was like, it's my favorite pair of pants. And I was wearing it even then. And this was like a week ago that I was reported. And I was wearing that pair of pants today. I still am. Anyway, and it's in the inner thigh of my pants. Okay. But anyway, and she was like, well, why don't you just get another pair? I was like, it's expensive. So yeah, that is proof that I'm underpaid. But then I said to my boss, I was like, is everybody just going around like narking on each other or what? And she was like, yeah, pretty much.
That's typical office culture.
And I was like, wow. And she was like, this is a really awkward conversation. I was like, really? I don't feel awkward at all. I just feel annoyed that these bitches are narking. You know?
Yeah. Hell yeah. Even.
I'm just annoyed with these narc-ass bitches.
Narc-ass bitches.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And
I told her, I was like, there is a hole in my pants, and there is a hole as we speak in my pants.
So you want to see?
Yeah. Yeah. You got me. At least I'm wearing underwear, and at least the hole's not in the crotch, because that one time in Mongolia, I was wearing pants with a hole in the crotch and no underwear.
So you're just wearing chaps.
Basically. And that's when I got confronted by the Mongolian grandma with a pair of granny pennies.
Yeah, that story.
Anyway, I'm sorry. That was a long answer, but
It was going on a diatribe, but it's fine.
Yeah. But you know what? I feel better now that I've admitted it.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, Matt, who did we decide to read today?
Today, we will be reading Celebratory Feast
Woo,
by
woo.
NickedYou.
Oh, yeah. All right. You want to go for it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Tonight, we dine in celebration of our victory. Doug was met with cheers. He was bombastic but articulate, as a shaman should be. He was a good cook. The battle was hard, but we know the path of warriors is soaked in our blood, as well as our enemies, and we watered it well. The battle was hard fought, and it will be remembered in song. We honor our fallen enemies tonight. But as the victors, we have claimed the higher honor, and so we live and rejoice. Glorious is the path of the warrior. He gestured to one of the new warriors, a dentist's daughter named Ree, sitting next to me. As a new recruit, she had lost many of those who had joined up with her. She looked to still mourn, but part of the reason for the feast was to ensure resolve. For some, today was the first step on this path. We welcome them with this feast and hope it gives them the strength for the next step and the next, onwards. Doug gestured to one of the seasoned warriors, Gur. They had won a new scar, but were largely unharmed. They had won the competition amongst us to see who could kill the most enemies, so their mention was a foregone conclusion. For others, today was the next step among many before and after. Here, Gur is our honored guest, for having killed 24 men today. Amongst those present, let none say that Gur is not furthest on the path, conducting themselves honorably in battle, slaying our enemies, and defending the new recruits. Gur! 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 We chanted, banging on the ground with each shout before going silent. Doug, more morose, then said, and for some of us, today was the last time they would walk the path in the light of the sun. They walked the path well and died in battle as warriors should, with the light of passion. This path gave them meaning, and we remember this. We walk the path they did. We will mourn them on this path and say their names. Doug banged his staff on a stump, serving as a table, and a chorus of screams erupted. I shouted, my throat hoarse, Jode! Ovi! Had! Dune! After a minute, the cries ceased. So as we eat, remember the path we walk. Remember the ones who came before, the ones who will come after, and remember that you need to keep your strength for the next step and the next. Let none of us die cowards. The first bowl was placed before Gur, and they speared a piece of meat, ate it, and swallowed it in a smooth motion. They raised their hands to the air and said, "We live through victory!" There was whooping and screaming and laughing in response, and more bowls were passed around. The stew had imperial corn mixed in with it to add a nutty, smoky taste. It was a common grain, but I had never grown tired of it. I bit into a piece of meat, still on the bone, dripping with juices. The imperial corn complemented the greasy, savory meat. It practically melted in my mouth, tearing easily, and I swallowed quickly. It was easy to see how Gur had eaten the first bite so swiftly. I was unsure if it was spices or the shaman's cooking, but the meat was more flavorful, and the smell, suffusing the air, was intoxicating. It doesn't taste like pork, Ree said. It's the easiest comparison, so that's what everyone says, I pointed out. The meat of most people will taste different, though. And the individuals matter. Some have different diets, different ailments. The ones we eat tonight were warriors, though, and so we're mostly muscle. Not too much fat, like a pig might have. She nodded and morosely took a bite.
Excellent reading.
Thanks.
That was your best reading so far.
That was a lot of fun to read.
That was awesome.
I attempted to channel my Leonidas, which that's the best I got, guys.
I feel like you did justice to that piece. I'm just so impressed. Great job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. This story was great.
It is.
I loved reading it.
Yeah. And especially just I love the word bombastic to describe Adug.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Because almost every sentence that he speaks ends in an exclamation point. So
right.
Yeah, bombastic.
That is good.
Yeah.
Bombastic. Yeah.
Perfect description.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, so it was really weird, but I realized while I was reading this, but it seemed to be inspired. And I know it wasn't, because it's the thing again where I know what inspired something, but it really didn't.
Okay.
By Mongolia.
Oh, okay.
First of all, the guy, Gur, that is how you spell, well, in English letters, Gir, which means home or yurt.
Really?
Yes, Gir, G-E-R.
Interesting. So whenever I shouted, my throat hoarse, Jode, Uvi, Pod, and Dune. Like, does any of that ring some Mongolian bells in your head?
The only one that is similar to Mongolian would be Dun, because they have the vowel harmony, or they have the like double vowels, the long vowels. But Dun is like grade Dun. Huh. But the rest of them not really, but it was the Gir thing, but it was also the feast and the warrior thing and the meat thing. Although, by the way, Mongolians do not eat people, and I don't think they ever have. But as far as the meat, just the eating of very basic meat, that's like a very Mongolian thing, and like tearing into it, you know, like, I don't know. It just seemed very Mongolian to me.
Yeah. Interesting. I love this speechifying that we get. I just love that all of the dialogue. You can't even really call it dialogue. It's more of a monologue than anything. That we get is all just this it's almost like pageantry.
Yeah.
This honoring of the victors and honoring of the defeated.
Yes.
And also, it's just, I thought it worked very well.
It did. And I loved the honoring of the defeated.
Yes.
I really liked that part, because it was like, we honor those that we defeated. That's cool. Instead of like pissing on their dead bodies. Yeah. You know, and clearly eating them is a way for them to honor them.
Which is fascinating.
Well,
it strikes me as desecration.
Well, interestingly, do you know about, okay, well, I'm just going to say, I don't know if you know about it, but there's this tribe in the islands, you know, over there in the
Hawaii,
South Pacific. No. Over there in the like, the area of like Papua New Guinea. It's in New Guinea, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. There's a tribe who ate, when their loved ones died, they would eat them, their bodies.
So that like they may continue on.
It was a way of releasing them.
Interesting.
Yes. No. It gets way more gruesome.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Right. Go on.
Okay.
Grabs popcorn.
Seriously, no, this is fascinating and really disgusting, but they had a funerary ritual of handling and eating dead bodies to honor them and to, again, like release their spirits or something. Okay. So, they would do this, and then, well, come to find out, when you eat human brain, you could get kuru. And kuru is also called the laughing disease. Huh? Because you lose your damn mind.
Because you took someone else's
and put it in your mouth.
Ate it.
And you ate it. Okay. But actually that like, that huge incidence of kuru was kind of traced back to this one guy in like 1900 time ish who had some brain disease, they believe. And they believe that somehow it like kind of facilitated it facilitated the colonizing of Kuru. Yes. And it was more likely among women and children because the women and the children were the ones who would eat the brain.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And this Kuru has an incubation period of 10 to 30 years.
Whoa.
Yes. Yes. Now, I just would like to say that missionaries have done a lot of messed up things, but they've also done some good things because they worked for years to convince this tribe that it was bad to eat people.
Right.
And so finally, about 50 years or 60 years after the like initial huge outbreak, they got their incidences down to 0. But the really disgusting thing is there's something more disgusting.
Okay.
It's that I don't remember if it's in North or South New Guinea, but one of them, what they would do is they would bury the body for a few days, wait for it to get infested with larvae, dig it up. Oh yeah, they have a word which means the body has ripened.
Ew.
Dig it up, take the maggots and like steam them as a side dish and then eat the rotting flesh.
Oh,
I'm not even joking with you.
Oh, that sounds
I'm not even joking.
So gross.
And it honestly made me ask, what happened to these people to make them go against everything, every instinct that I've ever heard of, a human instinct, which is the absolute repulsion at the smell of rotting flesh.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know?
Just the rotting part of it.
Right.
Yeah. No, let alone like eating somebody you knew.
Well, that part I can understand because for them, that was a way to honor them.
I guess.
But the part about going against the biological, because they say that there's the reason that we're grossed out by certain things is because of a biological, like, evolutionary
imperative.
Because imperative, like getting close to those things is going to kill you, whatever. So I've always thought that the biological imperative was to avoid or to be disgusted by at least the smell of rotting flesh.
Right. If not the taste.
Right.
Like if the smell doesn't bother you, certainly the taste would be a problem.
Right. But they were intentionally letting the body rot, digging it back up and eating it.
Aged to perfection. It's like eating black bananas.
Yeah, I like black bananas. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, they're really sweet.
They are.
It's like you can just squeeze it out like Go-Gurt.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is not gross at all compared to what we've just not been talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I hope that these people were not eating the brains.
Right. Yeah. The description of the food actually that came at just the right time in the story because it felt like it really honed us in away from the group and in on this individual who's savoring, or I say savoring, they're digging into this meal.
Yeah.
And so it served the purpose of taking us away from this kind of group atmosphere and addressing the scene at large and bringing us down to a much tighter point of view.
Yeah.
That worked really well in that aspect, in addition to just giving me what sounds like delicious roast or something.
Yeah. And it does sound delicious. Like,
even despite after knowing it's people, long pork, if you will.
Wow. Is that what it's called by some people?
Where did I hear that? Long pork. I think that's a Stephen King thing, or I picked it up from him probably.
Yeah.
Or it was Fallout, one of the two.
Long pork. I like that.
Long pork.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm not even going to retract that it sounds delicious even after knowing it's humans.
Right. Because it still sounds delicious.
It does.
Yeah.
I think that the whole aversion to eating humans is just psychological. Because it's a human.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Because I feel like people have the same aversion to like eating dog in specific cultures.
Right.
Yeah. It's obviously. So yeah, it probably is psychological.
Yeah. Because I think that if you just were served roast human, then it would probably be good.
God, our podcast is going to be flagged so bad.
We're going down.
We're going down.
I'm going to get in trouble again.
We're going to jail.
Yeah. Jail.
Okay. Jail.
Straight
Believe it
to
or
jail.
not, jail.
I know.
Yeah. I really liked this, Nick.
I really did too.
This was a fun story to come across because I feel like the title put us in just the right headspace to jump into this kind of this bombastic monologue that you give us. So the title actually did work to set us up for what follows. So I think that worked well.
Really enjoyed it. I just
too.
liked the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And just I can't say it enough, but just the bombastic nature of it worked. Like that I think was the most effective part of this story for me, was the language and the tone of this person speaking, of Adug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Adug did a lot to sell this story for me.
Somehow that like strikes me as a kind of a Viking name.
Adug?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nordic.
Yeah, or something. And by the way, the people that I'm talking about, they were in Papua New Guinea, and they're called the Fore, F-O-R-E.
Oh.
That's the tribe name.
Okay, so I won't vacation there. But no, it's under control now. It's fine. It's fine.
They've been proselytized.
Oh, great.
To the point that they don't eat their dead loved ones anymore.
Okay.
At least
that, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm sure they're cool.
Yeah.
I had a friend from Papua New Guinea, and it was really fucking cool.
Really?
Tammy Titipu.
Titipu?
I went to high school with her.
You went to high school?
Yeah.
With someone from Papua New Guinea?
Yes. Her father was the chief of her tribe.
Really?
Yes.
That's sick.
She was actually in my brother's class.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
Well, hey, what else you got for Nick?
I just really enjoyed it. That's all I got.
Same. Hey, thanks, NickedYou.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, great story.
Yeah.
And up next, we have option 2, Suicide by Cop, from Rachel's Guide to Success, Suicide Success by Walker by Faith.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
So, Walker, I enjoyed this one, I think even more than the first one.
Really?
Yes.
I was more partial to the first one, actually.
I really liked the first one, but this one just made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, it's solid. Yeah, it certainly follows the first one to the point that it certainly fits.
Yeah.
With the first one, I just really like the way you end each one up. The way you kind of lead us into, you prepare us for, option 3, and the same thing happened in the end of the last one. I really like that, especially as a practical guide to suicide success or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that works really well.
Yeah. I really like the first part that made me chuckle was in the second paragraph where it's like, to stumble into this camp from whence you shall never return is much simpler than many people realize.
There's so many of those just peppered in.
Yes.
All throughout the story. Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
I do too.
I like that thought.
There's so many instances of just like, it just catches you like little euphemisms or turns of phrases to describe you shuffling off this mortal coil,
Yeah. I just like the matter of fact. This is getting stupid.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go now. I must go now. That reminds me of Bilbo Baggins, when he first puts on the ring when he's at his 111th birthday party.
111st birthday.
111st birthday. And he's like, I must go now. And then he disappears.
Yeah. I bid you all a very fond farewell.
Yes.
And then gone.
Yep. Exactly. It's just like, all right, later.
Deuces.
Yeah. But also, I don't know why it made me laugh how it was like the exact sensations experienced in the consumption of the crumbs that almost caused the cessation of my existence. I just liked the consumption of the crumbs. Because I found myself literally picturing well, myself.
Just like licking your finger and then like getting the crumbs off of the.
I pictured myself holding my hand with like a crumbly brownie and picking up the crumbs and just like shoving them into my mouth.
Or just like looking at them in your palm and then just go. "Ah,"
Yeah,
just eat 'em all.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
And then it was like, well, I was getting too happy and I couldn't allow this to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah. I knew I could not allow this to happen. And so I immediately left the party
Yeah.
in the cool night air with an awareness of the orientation of the planets and stars in the sky, unlike any I had ever experienced. I walked along the city street until suddenly realizing that the sparkling blue lights in my field of vision were indeed real.
I liked the description of the sparkling blue lights.
Yeah.
That's such a romantic way to describe, I assume, police car lights.
Yeah, like bubblegum lights.
Yeah. It's sparkling.
Yeah.
Sparkling.
Did you get the sense that there might have been something else in that brownie?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
because it never comes out directly and just says it.
Yeah.
But it heavily implies.
It heavily implies it.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about this because I'm like, I've definitely had weed brownies, more times than I can count.
Oh yeah.
But this struck me more as a mushroom experience.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I'm like,
Yeah.
Are there mushroom brownies? Probably. Shroom brownies.
If so, let's get some.
If so, take me there.
I want to
where
go
they
to
are.
there.
I want to go to there.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm sure there are. You could make some. It would probably taste weird.
Weird is probably a great euphemism for terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the first time I had mushrooms, I was served them in between Oreo halves.
Oh God.
Yeah, my friend was like, "This is the best way to eat mushrooms."
Is it?
According to her, yeah. According to me, not so much.
Okay.
Took me a while to be able to eat Oreos again.
Yep.
It's weird because it's like when you eat mushrooms, it's like they don't taste disgusting, but something about the memory and the aftertaste is cringy. Probably because you associate it with being poisoned, because you actually are poisoning yourself.
Yeah, it is a type of poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're literally, poisoning
You're poisoning yourself.
Right. And so your body, that biological thing again.
Imperative.
Yeah. Is like.
You're going to remember that word one day.
I am. That biological thing.
By Godological.
By God, illogical. Is like, no, avoid in the future. No. Don't do it.
Don't. Gross.
Ew.
Gross poison. Poison gross.
Ew. Anyway, yeah, it was a mushroom brownie. It had to have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it just strikes me as like mild hallucinations while they're off running and then they just happen to run into the cops. And the fact that the brownie was the reason that they that the author, Rachel, almost accidentally committed suicide by cop was because of this brownie.
Right.
So,
but question though, would that be suicide? Doesn't there have to be intention behind suicide? Well, you know what?
I'm going to chalk it up to the commentary that this is construing that as a form of suicide.
Yes, but actually I just thought about it. And if you actually break down the word, it's Latin. Su is self, and side comes from the Latin word that means kill.
Yeah.
So actually, there doesn't have to be intention. It just means killing yourself. So you could kill yourself accidentally.
Okay.
If you look at it from the etymological standpoint.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Because although like killing yourself, like self-killing, could you call this self-killing because you didn't do anything? You made choices that led to someone else killing. I feel like this is still more homicide than it is suicide.
I agree. But it is, you did do something,
Okay.
You have some responsibility in this.
Take some responsibility.
Take responsibility for yourself, damn it.
Even if yourself is dead.
Right. Own it.
Yeah, own it.
Biting that final bullet. Okay, so
That said, I was one brownie bite away from biting that final bullet.
Yeah,
lovely.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on. I like the idea of pairing so that you can bypass the feelings of fear, the inherent fear.
Or even like potential empathy that you may have for the poor soul who has to shoot you.
Right,
or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah, this kind of laying by the wayside your inhibitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the discussion about that this option is going to be very hard if you're of European descent.
Yeah. That man, I read that. I was like, oh, yes.
That's so true.
So
and
true. Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of?
Or I assume it's so true. I've never been to Europe. So.
But
Is that a joke? Because I'm like 99.9% European genetically.
Yeah, you're absolutely of European descent. Okay, but you need to go back to the motherland.
One day.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my passport today. I probably shouldn't advertise that, but I got my passport today.
Why shouldn't you advertise it?
I don't know. I'm like...
So you're going to get attacked?
Maybe.
Because you have a passport?
Because I announced on our podcast that I received my passport. But yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Wait, you've been outside of the U.S.?
Once.
To?
Aruba.
Aruba. Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahama. Come on, pretty mama. Key Largo, Montego. Baby, why don't we go down to Kokomo? You'll get there faster and we'll take it slow. That's where we wanna go. Way down to Kokomo.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So to diffuse the burden of being targeted, I want our listeners to know that I have 3 passports. That was also a humble brag.
Why 3? Are you a sovereign citizen of anybody else, of any other country? Why would you need more than 1 passport?
Well,
are 2 expired?
No, one of them expired. One of them was a specific government passport from when I was in the Peace Corps.
Okay.
I'd like to keep that going and make it sound like I'm cool in the CIA or something.
Badass.
Yeah, but no. It was a government passport and it couldn't be used for other things. And then the third one was just because the first one expired.
Because I got bored and I got another one.
Yeah. The first one expired. And all 3 of them, my pictures are horrific.
Oh, I feel like that's a necessity of any passport, that the picture must be terrible, because so is mine.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't even, like, there's this much picture, and now I got there's this much picture, and my head like the top of my head is here, and it's like, it catches my beard to like here, so all you see is like this much of me, and then it's just empty space
block
above
of
it.
Face. That's hilarious.
I'm just like in the bottom half of the frame of the passport, like yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Actually, every passport picture I've ever seen has been a nightmare.
Oh, that holds for my expired passport, which I'll eventually get back. I sent it in to get the replacement.
Yeah.
And I was 17 when I got that passport. So
when I was 17.
No.
Okay.
No.
Go on.
And I don't even remotely recognize myself. It's
wow.
a different person.
Wow.
I don't know that person.
Oh.
I showed it to like Christian and Kim, and Christian's like, who is this?
I can imagine it. I can picture what it looks like.
Clean, shaven, boy face, tiny,
baby.
weak chin.
Oh. By the way, guys, Matt does not have a notably weak chin.
Because I have no chin visible.
Well, no, even before your beard.
No?
No.
I feel like it's just this wee little tiny dainty little chin thing.
It might be, but there are people who have literally no chin.
Oh.
Yeah, there are people who have negative chin.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, I've seen one.
It's just all over by, it's just the top of your jaw and the neck.
Yeah, basically. But wait, how did we get to that?
I have no idea.
Wait,
we're gonna have to circle back.
Okay, yeah. So, the European descent thing. Yes. So it reminded me of Shameless. Have you seen Shameless?
Shamefully, no.
Oh, Shameless is so good. Like
I know,
the first few episodes, you're just like,
Mr.
wow.
Macy, William H.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first few episodes, you're like, I am a horrible person for watching this because it's just so graphic. But then after that, you get used to it. And then it starts being hilarious. So there's this one, my favorite character, actually, my number one favorite character is Carl. And he's the second to the youngest son. And, I love that kid.
Oh,
he is hilarious. Oh man, I love that kid. Anyway. And, one time, and they're all hoodlums. They're all just total criminals. And,
before you carry on,
mm-hmm.
I must say how much I adore the word hoodlum.
Yay.
That's a wonderful word. Go on.
Great. Oh my God, I'm so glad that I could bring that to you all today.
Yes. Hoodlums.
Hoodlums. They're all hoodlums, but Carl, he is with friends like running from the police or something, and it's dark outside, it's nighttime, and the police like pull them over, like block them because they're running, and they like block them in with their cars. Uh-huh. And the line right before it's either the end of the episode or commercial break is Carl just holds his hands up and he's like, "Don't shoot, I'm white." He's like, and I'm like, that is the most like apt satirical commentary on our society.
I wouldn't even necessarily say that has to be construed as satire.
Well, it's
just straight up commentary.
It's commentary, but it's used in a funny way because the show's a comedy.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So straight up commentary on society, which is presented in a humorous way, is satire.
Yeah.
So it's hilarious. Don't shoot, I'm white.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you need to know.
Yeah. Which Walker made full use of that. And I'm so glad. Like, as I was going through this, and then I arrived at the portion where it's like, if you're, I have to quote it. Now, while I indeed point out two general categories of people who commit suicide by cop, there is, of course, a third camp: people of color. Mm-hmm. If life, your parents, or the good Lord blessed you to be born with an abundance of melanin in your skin, suicide by cop will be much easier.
Yeah.
It's just
almost effortless.
Almost effortless.
Fact.
Yeah. Far easier to enter into this accidental suicide by cop category just by being in category number 3. I was actually glad. Not glad doesn't feel like the right word. I'll just say I was glad to see that you included that.
Yeah,
Walker.
Me too.
Because that absolutely needs to be said in this particular instance of a practical guide to suicide success,
and especially suicide by cop.
Yes, absolutely.
And I like the end of that paragraph where it's like, before you know it, you'll be on your way.
Yeah,
on your way, as my mom would say, on your way across the Rainbow Bridge.
Mm-hmm. Across the river Styx.
Sure.
Yeah, but this continues to be a great kind of. This continues to be a great satire. Mm-hmm. And we've made our opinions about satire very clear. So keep it coming.
And I like the end where it's like, in fact, not even pointing a gun at an officer while advising her that it's either you or her is effective 100% of the time.
See, I like that for the reason that it's Europe. And second of all, it's a woman cop. It's a lady cop.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's not Europe. It's white people in the States.
Oh, I thought that was around the European side of it, where it's like not even pointing a gun at a European officer will get them to kill you or something like that.
No, it's just not even pointing a gun at an officer.
Oh, okay.
I think it's talking about America, because America is where that shit happens. Like in Europe, the cops don't even carry guns in a lot of places.
Yeah, I knew that much. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent story, Walker.
Mhm.
Poignant and hilarious at the
Yes.
same time. True hallmarks of satire.
Yes. Loved it.
And just the way you pepper in these little turns of phrases, it's great.
It's
great.
so great.
It's so entertaining.
I'm excited for. I feel like there's going to be more installments.
Yeah, and the next installment is murder suicide, so that will certainly muddy these waters a little bit.
That'll up the ante.
That will up the ante. And I suppose while we're on the topic of satires, is there a point whenever satire needs to ditch comedy and just be commentary?
Well, I think that the best example of that I've ever seen is John Oliver.
Okay, yeah.
Because he's hilarious. He will speak very satirically, but then every once in a while he'll be like, but in all seriousness, and he'll make intense eye contact with the camera, and he's like, this is a horror show, and it has to stop.
Yeah, this part is important.
Yeah.
So
like this part, I'm joking, but this is seriously a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, because satire at its root is still commentary.
Right.
Which is essentially what news is.
Yeah.
News is a kind of commentary on like events as they come out to a degree. So my challenge to Walker is, where are you going to draw that line in the sand for this story? I feel like there is a time and place for us to be serious about this topic. Where would you put that line in the sand?
Well, I
Walker?
feel like he was serious about this topic at the beginning, because he was like, this is a serious issue. This is a could be a very, very triggering story. And if you're in need of help, call this number. Okay,
I'm taking that as out of text.
Uh-huh.
I'm not including that as part of the text.
Yeah.
So in the body of the work that you've presented us, at what point can you pull us away from the satire and just be serious for a second? Like, at what point in this conversation do we not necessarily abandon, but put aside the comedy and just speak true and speak honest and be transparent? I feel like that's a hallmark of a great satire, is whenever you can be serious for a second and just land a point. Like, I feel like those points in satire, John Oliver is a great example, because I feel like his points land home better because he's pulling you out of laughing about something. He's like, okay, we're going to be serious for just a second.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like those points land more effectively than if they were just stated without the satire. So I think that is a point where your work as a satirist can really shine, is whenever you land on a point that you want to be serious about.
That's a very, very interesting take. And at first I was just going to immediately disagree with you and be like, no, I want to stay in this humorous situation.
Yeah, but that's part of it. We want to stay there. Yeah,
but I mean, maybe you're right. And I'm like hearkening back to Juvenile, and I'm like, yeah, he would sometimes insert seriously though, this is a shit show.
Yeah.
Not all. I need to go back and review because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might be making a good point there. But
yeah, I feel like the core tenet is the commentary and the comedy. Like that is the bulk of it.
Yeah.
But very, very, very sparingly be serious for a second, and it'll lend so much weight to what it is that you're being serious about.
Yeah.
So that's my one take on it.
Okay.
I'll put it that way.
Interesting take.
Thank you, Walker.
Loved it.
Loving it.
I'm loving it.
And up next is A Sweet Tooth in the Morning by the Prismatics 19.
I like that play on words. That's nice. The first thing that struck me was that you chose the perfect time frame for the things that are happening, as in time of day.
Okay.
Because that literally 3:35 a.m. is like the most miserable time of the 24 hours, in my opinion.
Wait, that time actually exists?
Yeah.
I thought I thought it was just like 3:35 a.m.
Mhm.
the theoretical time between, midnight
Time
and
between times.
9 a.m.
No, it exists. And that's the time that you wake up, let's say from a nightmare where you just wanted to die, or you wake up from a brutal fucking hangover realizing that you did something very regrettable, or that you wake up of insomnia and you realize that your alarm is set for 5.
Yeah, and you have an hour and 25 minutes to get any amount of sleep. Yeah.
Or you're having a great time with somebody or a party, and then you realize, damn it, the night's almost over. It's just not a fun time in my experience.
Yeah.
So I feel like that setting of 3:35 a.m. was like perfect for Bradley being jolted awake and realizing that everything is fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, he
agree.
realized that was a nightmare, but he is also kind of living a nightmare too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would say he's living a nightmare. He was just ejected from Waldron Pond by some eldritch horror from the depths of Lovecraft's worst nightmares to the beach, and he's still there. So yeah. I hadn't considered the timing of everything, but yeah, it actually, it is just right. And then I guess ultimately we land in the reasonable hours of the day at 7:30 in the morning when he pulls in the driveway of his house. That's actually really interesting. The timing and the locations, like the times that we're in these abominable locations are at abominable times.
Yes.
And whenever it's like we reach at a reasonable time, we're also at a reasonable place.
Yeah.
So the setting.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Hadn't considered the timing and what it may mean.
Yeah.
So whenever Bradley gets back to his house, which is near Columbus, we find out.
Yeah.
We just kind of get some of the daily run-of-the-mill activities.
There's a sweet kitty.
There's a sweet kitty. I knew you'd mention the sweet kitty who gets
I love Chuck.
A tabby who gets some scritches before going to the kitchen. Yeah. He took out a can of wet food from the cupboard, popping the top to reveal the inarticulate mass of meat and gravy.
Yeah.
Interesting way to describe that.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I also relate to the feeling of like, even though it smelled weird, I still kind of wanted to eat it.
Yeah. And frankly, because we give our dog wet food. And every time I pop the lid, I'm like, this really doesn't smell bad.
Right.
Like, it's not, obviously I'm not going to eat it.
Obviously.
If I was starving though,
oh yeah,
I might actually grab me a little fork, or I may just eat it.
Oh yeah, if you were super, super desperate.
Oh yeah, it'd be fine. Yeah,
totally.
You'd be fine. But just the way that it's described, as hungry as he was, however, his stomach still growled at the pungent reek of the offal and preservatives. And so we're getting, I like that sentence because we're getting kind of two qualities. We're enforcing or establishing, I'm not sure if we established how hungry he was prior to this, but we are establishing just how starving he is, and the quality of this cat food. Yeah. Which is exactly what we asked for, like these deep descriptions of food. And
yeah,
we
that was a
cat food.
Funny, that was a funny choice there.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that. Well, there was that, and then there was the cake as well.
Yes, the cake was the next part.
I see that you highlighted this line, which I also landed on as being very, very lovely, which was a raven black icy grimness was taking hold in his heart.
Yes.
I thought about that and I just loved it.
The hyphenate of raven black.
Yeah.
Like there's so many ways to describe black, but you give us such specificity with raven.
Icy.
Yeah.
I just love that. That was a beautiful description of a horrifying feeling.
And all of it to describe grim.
Yeah.
Grimness. Raven black. Icy grimness. Just bravo, man. That's, yeah, it's 0 notes, just mad props.
And I also like the point about the brief care of Chuck had provided a moment of tender sincerity to his psyche, but now he was alone. I guess I could like really relate to that. You know, if you're like in the middle of a complete like nightmare and then you have to be torn away from that to care for a fluffy critter.
Yeah.
And you have that moment of reprieve, but then the nightmare comes back.
Yeah, it's just a moment where you don't have to be thinking about your troubles. You only have to be thinking about what you need to do to take care of this critter.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So cute.
Actually, okay, so I am going through, or I just finished Gerald's Game in conjunction with the Flanagan's Wake podcast. So they're covering Gerald's Game right now. They're going to do the movie adaptation soon, but I'd never read Gerald's Game. And the kind of discussion about Gerald's Game reminds me of this idea of this reprieve or this avoidance of what you really need to be thinking about. Really crops up in Gerald's Game as well. And have you read?
No.
Okay, then I'll just
never even heard of it.
I'm not gonna mention any major beats or anything like that. I just think that some of the themes that are presented in that book are kind of mirrored with what you're doing here, Prismatics, as far as this avoidance of what you really need to be thinking about in a very specific time. Whether it's intentional or unintentional. In this case, I feel like it's unintentional because I feel like Bradley really wants to focus on what it takes to deal with this situation, deal with this monster, and help Amber in whatever way, if there is any help to be given. It just kind of struck me that way, like this either avoidance or this kind of this avoidance of like not responsibility but needs, like something that you want or need to take care of, I guess. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I guess like not having read Gerald's Game, I see it more of, is that something that he needs to be thinking about? Because I don't think that it's anything that he could think his way out of.
Right.
And like come to the conclusion by sitting there and just poring over it.
Right. Yeah.
I almost feel like it's the type of conclusion that can only be arrived at by focusing on other things.
Possibly.
Like feeding Critten.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's where like your mileage may vary. Like, but I agree that this certainly feels like a reprieve, kind of like a calm before something is going to drag him away from this, or he takes himself away from this place. Yeah. And we dive into what I'm going to call like the meat of Bradley dealing with whatever this is. And to kind of see what Bradley's life is like outside of what we've been presented so far is actually quite refreshing. Even though it's not driving us towards the major plot points of this story, I really think that this has a perfect place in your story, grounding us with Bradley and his situation and what life is like for him outside of these extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah. I really like the description of the cake.
Yeah.
It's just a really good description. It just really paints a picture. Like, even more than delicious, it just sounds beautiful. Like, the whole thing, the frosting was a light lavender trimmed with white spirals. Just
a rather sizable rose that was colored a deep and royal blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it just like, I loved picturing that, you know?
Yeah. And in the description, I was a little confused, and maybe you can help me. He took hold of the purple slice and surprised to find it sitting at room temperature, despite being in the freezer for 3 years. This slice of cake was supposed to be eaten on their first wedding anniversary, but of course they hadn't made it that far. I'm confused about the timing, I think.
How so?
I thought that Amber had just died. So we're years removed.
Yeah, because it even says that in the story when he goes back there. He's like, it had been
because he went back. You're right. Okay. Yeah. I was just confused about the timing.
Oh, you were thinking it was when she actually disappeared and got like dragged under or whatever?
Right.
Yeah, no, it was years later that he went back to visit the place.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assumed I was missing something. I just wanted to call it out so that, so
Yeah.
I knew better.
But question about the fact that it was sitting at room temperature. So I wonder, I was surprised at that. And I wondered, is that what really happened? There's like obviously some supernatural things happening in the story. Or is he just being delusional and unhinged and he took it out of the freezer at some point to thaw and he's like, whoa, it's room temperature. What happened? Like, is this actually happening because of supernatural activity or is he just smoking crack?
Yeah, valid question. And I'll offer you my interpretation, which is we've got this horrible monster. We gotta balance the scale somewhere. So somewhere on the other end of this scale is this wonderful something to just balance this out.
Yeah.
And I think that this is our first, if maybe even one of the only inklings that we will get that there is some help here. Because following this, he gets his resolve and he really commits himself to dealing with this issue, to really address it and move forward and try and deal with it. This felt like the God of the Machine. That's really what it felt like to me.
Deus ex machina.
Indeed.
Yeah. So maybe this is like a positive supernatural thing.
It doesn't present itself as much.
Yeah.
Especially not in the way that the eldritch horror in the lake does. But that makes sense to me. That's how it would be presented. It would be it would be mundane where the monster is extraordinary. Right,
because horrifying supernatural things have occurred. So we have some supernatural help.
Gotta balance those scales a little bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I totally love that idea. Even if that's not what you were going for, Prismatics, that's what I took out of it. But yeah, and especially because the last line, but he knew he was going to do something, and he would start by finding out who used to live on that land. So that's the first inkling that we get that Bradley is committed to following through with this.
Yeah.
It's like he's truly taken up the call to deal with this.
Yeah, I really I loved the positivity, the glimmer of hope at the end.
Yeah.
I loved that. And I loved that because I was afraid that he was going to like taste the cake and then it was going to be like just, continuing his nightmare or something. But it was like the warmth of a sunrise, his demeanor shifted from confused and nervous to determination and resolve. I feel, who was I talking to recently? I have no idea. But I have no idea, but it was the concept that the thing, I think it was I know who it was. It was this one friend of mine who was like very, very smart and is like, reads a lot about
everything.
Well, sociology, like human behavior and things like that.
Yeah.
But, anyway, she was like, had read that one of the main things that causes psychological discomfort and dissonance in us is lack of resolve.
I thought you were just going to say sugar.
And sugar. No, lack of resolve. Like you don't know you don't know if you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You don't know what choice to make. You don't know if you made the right choice.
Yeah.
So if you're able to have this like resolve and like, yes, this is what I'm doing. And you're like, commit to the bit, then that will feel good.
Yeah. I imagine. Yeah. And I suppose this is kind of tropey.
Yeah.
A little bit as far as Bradley's role here, but I like it. I don't dislike it for that. As a matter of fact, I kind of appreciate it for that. The only aspect of this kind of trope that we avoided is him refusing the call. Like, we never got a point with Bradley where he was like, no, I can't deal with that. I'm just going to live on my own. I'm just going to be by myself. And I'm just like this. That's a kind of generic tropism.
It's the Jonah trope.
Yeah. So just this refusal of the call, we avoided that with Bradley's tale here. Yeah. But that being said, if you included that for Bradley in this story, maybe in a rewrite or something like that, it would not feel at all out of place. If anything, I feel like we would understand as readers, like, yes, you absolutely deserve to just call this off. But there needs to be somebody to bring him back to take up the call. So I just wanted to kind of call that out, that we avoided that whole like refusal.
I like that. I like that.
I kind of do too. It adds
a new spin on an old trope.
And the conviction that we get from Bradley is just that much more for his lack of refusal in the first place. So.
And honestly, I feel like that's more aligned with human behavior anyway. Like every time I see that trope in like a movie or a book, I'm like, really though? When they're like, no, I can't. No, I'm not. No, I'm just like, okay. It's almost like just patronizing.
It is, because it is such a common trope.
It is.
But I do think, especially with the way this story has been handled so far, I still think that the Prismatics could use that trope in a flashback. So we recollect, or we catch Bradley recalling the time when he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But in the order that we're presented it, like, it's like he never refused. But we just glimpse the moment whenever he had doubts. Like, I feel like because we've had so much in the form of flashbacks in this story, there'd be a fun way to nest that into later entries via a recollection, or maybe he refuses it later upon more information or something like that. I feel like there is a way to make use of the trope and subvert it at the same time.
Okay.
I feel like there's enough creativity to be had inside that idea that you could have some fun with it. But I just wanted to call it out. So
you could. Did you like how I called that a Jonah trope?
Yeah.
You didn't get it, did you?
Jonah and the whale? Yeah.
Did you get it?
Well, he was in a whale.
Yeah, he was. But do you know why he was in a whale?
Because he put himself there?
Nope.
He was 8'10".
It's because God gave him what did you call it? Answer the call. God told him to go preach to certain people, or to go do something, or to tell people about, he was a prophet, and God wanted him to go talk to people, and he was scared.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, it's been a really long time since I've read this story, but I think it was like those people are very violent, and he was afraid that they would like kill him.
So he jumped in a whale?
No, as happens to prophets sometimes, because they piss people off. Anyway, and he got on a ship like to flee or something, because God told him to go do this. He was like, no, I'm scared.
No.
So he got on a ship, and then there was a huge storm, and everybody was like throwing things overboard to try to save the ship.
Including Jonah.
They were out of things, so they had to throw people overboard, and Jonah was one of them. He might have been the only one. I don't remember. But
it's like all of it was a ruse to get him to jump overboard.
They were just like,
turns out he's a really bad shipmate.
The person we know the least. I think he was like a stowaway or something. Yeah. So they were like, sorry
about you.
Yeah. So I just now coined that term. Everybody, if you ever use that, please give me the credit. Jonah trope.
Jonah trope.
To refuse the call. Can we
just call it a drope?
No, it's a Jonah trope. Okay. It's refusing the call.
All right.
And
Jonah
then coming
trope.
around and eventually,
taking up
heeding the call.
Yeah.
Which Jonah did after he got spat out by the whale.
Yeah. Well, hey, what else? What else do you have for the Prismatics?
That's all I got. It was great.
Great story. Great continuation. And lastly, we have Izakaya Den.
It looks like Izakaya.
Izakaya Den by Steve Living Room.
So Steve, delicious.
Yes, delicious. this is in Denver
Right.
on Pearl Street.
Yeah.
So next time I'm in Denver, which is actually probably going to be in September.
Are you serious?
Probably.
Wow.
More than likely. I will be hitting
Oh,
up
hell
Izakaya
yeah.
Den.
Apparently it's expensive, so start saving.
Whatever.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. The
Money's
company's
no
gonna pay
object
for
to
it.
you. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, this I loved the description. I loved it, just sounded so good. I love sushi. And I know that Matt and Kim also love sushi.
Sushi is the perfect food.
It is.
It is everything.
It is everything.
In a roll. It's so
It
good.
is so good.
I love
the
sushi.
Japanese know what the fuck they're doing.
That they know what is up.
Right.
Oh, it's so good.
So still the best sushi I've ever had is that place in Santa Fe.
In Santa Fe. It's it was Konami in Santa Fe. Actually, absolutely. It's the first place I think I ever actually had sushi was at Konami as a child. Yeah, and we just recently went back there. And oh man, so good. You're right. It was great sushi. I have to admit.
So was the Las Vegas sushi better?
It was not bad. I'll put it that way. I'm kind of at the point that I'll order usually like the specials, like the specialty roll of the house, and they're all wildly different. So it's hard to really compare them from one place to the next, to the next, to the next. But I do know whenever I find a good place, and this sounds like a good place.
I'll even eat not good sushi happily.
Oh yeah, I've had grocery store sushi before.
Oh yeah, no,
plenty of times.
I love HEB sushi. Have you had HEB sushi?
Not theirs. I've had Market Streets plenty of time, or United.
No,
whatever.
HEB is a class above Market Street sushi.
Okay. Yeah, it's been. I had it a lot when I was in school. Yeah.
Oh no, HEB sushi. Wow. It's not great, but it's
also not terrible.
It's also not terrible. It does the job.
It scratches that itch just right.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, all the not even just the description of the food in here. Like this is all just heavily descriptive.
Yes.
And frankly, Steve, you should post this story to Izakaya Den's Yelp page.
Oh, you might even get some free sushi out of it.
This is quite the selling point for them. Also, love the use of taste-gasm.
I liked that too.
Yep, because that's exactly what it is. Anytime you eat great sushi, that's all you can describe it as. Yeah. Yep. And the inclusion of unagi, wonderful.
Unagi is one of my favorites. This all sounded so good, except for I'm sorry to everybody out there, but I do not eat mayo.
Yeah, I knew you would object to that.
Yeah, and I was just like, but still, I mean, in a pinch, yeah, I'll eat it. I'll eat the shit out of it.
Yeah.
But the unagi, delicious. The veggie and shrimp tempura, oh my god, and the fucking fatty tuna,
miso soup,
and even the salad and the green tea, it all just sounds so good.
And the way you describe the wasabi and the way it hits, like you get a sinus buzz.
Yes, that was a great description.
Yeah, in that many words, that's a great description.
Yeah.
I almost wanted to read like the way it hits you behind the eyes. Like that's kind of the way it feels like. It's like right behind, like behind your eyes and your nose. It just feels like it's just right there. Yeah. But yeah, in as many words as you described it, exactly right.
Yeah, I've never heard wasabi described in a better way than sinus buzz. Yeah, because I was like, that is exactly what it is.
Yeah, because exactly.
Yeah.
And I actually really appreciated the list of constituent ingredients for these dishes.
Yes.
That really does a lot to describe the food itself, especially something as complex and involved as sushi. Even just the house salad, radishes, tomatoes, ginger tofu dressing that is perfect. Next comes the best miso with tofu, seaweed, green onions, shimeji, and shiitake mushrooms. The smell is warm and delicious. So I kind of had two thoughts about that paragraph. First is I love all the inclusion of all the ingredients, because that really goes a long way to describe what it is that you're eating. And that paired with the smell is warm and delicious, just very succinct, very simple, really kind of drives home the ingredients aspect of that. The other part of that is I think that the sentence, the smell is warm and delicious, I think you can shine there a little bit brighter. I think you can like dive into something, keep it succinct, but you can dress up the word smell, warm, and delicious in ways that really capture what it is that you've described in these ingredients.
But you could even keep it not so succinct and just like flesh it out a little more, like the earthy scent warms my senses and delights me.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like, yeah, use more description there.
Like, look at a sommelier's handbook, and you can get just adjectives on top of adjectives on top of adjectives to describe things that are, I'll just kind of describe them as intangible. Like these very difficult to describe aspects of taste and smell.
Yeah.
There's so many words to describe food and what it means to us in our senses. Savory, sweet, aromatic, clean, smooth. There's so many things. Even just the word complex can be used to describe a taste or a smell.
So I want to point out something in the first paragraph, which is the 4th sentence. You said the best meal I've ever had is at Izakaya Den. There is no competition. We've had sushi in New York, San Francisco, Seattle, and more. In my opinion, Izakaya Den has no competition. Okay, so I just want you to delete that sentence.
Yeah, so redundant.
Because not only is it redundant, but it's also, as my asshole British Latin professor would say, equivocating. So yeah, so whenever
that's
you
an
say,
asshole thing to say.
I know, and he said it all the time. But in my opinion, like if you take that away, then it's so much more convincing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because here's the thing: we know this is your opinion.
Yeah.
Saying that it's your opinion is redundant. Using the word competition again is redundant. And saying in my opinion is equivocating. Okay. So if you want to really convince your audience,
it is twice redundant and equivocating at the same time. Okay.
If you really want to convince your audience, take that sentence away and state it as fact.
Yeah.
Because
this is truth. I'm going to tell you truth.
Because if they take it as fact, cool. More customers for Izakaya Den.
Yeah. And to your point of equivocation, to describe anything as in your opinion, I feel like means that you, at some point you may be telling us something that is not your opinion, that is someone else's opinion. It just kind of casts this doubt. Yeah. Or it could. It didn't for me, but
it casts doubt on the veracity of your statement. Yeah. So state it as fact. I believe you.
I do. After what I'm reading here, I believe you.
I believe you.
Yeah, absolutely. This line, I swoon as my taste buds get hard.
Damn.
Okay. That's good sushi.
I like the kind of sexual like references in here.
Yeah, because before the toro melts as I chew, the flavor is decadent, almost erotic. Right. But without the feeling I need to immediately see a dentist, I swoon as my taste buds get hard. I read that, I was like, damn.
Yeah, and higher up there's the taste-gasm.
The taste-gasm, of course. Yeah.
It sounds delicious.
It does. And yeah, I love the kind of erotic quality to the description there towards the end.
And I get that. And also, Steve, I am also that guy who eats everybody's leftover sushi, which
you did in Santa Fe.
I ate everybody's leftover sushi.
Yeah, I think it all disappeared
into my mouth.
into your mouth. Yeah.
It did, because I was like, I am not letting this go to waste.
Yeah.
It is not going to happen.
And so good.
I need to get me a Japanese wife.
Do I?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, hey, excellent descriptions, Steve. Excellent story. And another fascinating glimpse into the life of Steve Living Room.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
Sounds like you and Denise got it figured out, man.
Y'all got it going on.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
And that is all of our stories for this week. So shout out to NickedYou for being selected here today, along with Walker by Faith, The Prismatics 19, and Steve Living Room.
Living Room.
Living Room. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for being just so dang consistent.
Right?
Yeah.
Y'all are amazing.
Y'all are amazing. Thank y'all. And that moves us into episode 31.
31. So, our prompt for episode 31 is, when I was 17, comma, it was a very good year.
Excellent.
That's the opening line.
Yes. Yeah, so an intro line prompt. When I was 17, it was a very good year.
Yes.
And fans of the show will recognize it.
It was a very good year.
It was a very good year.
Actually, 17 was not a great year for me.
Nope, decidedly not the best of years.
It was a rough fucking year.
18 was solid. 17 was rough.
The second half of 18 was great for me. The first half was rock bottom. Second half...
My first half of 18 was... I think I peaked in the first half of my 18.
I think you were going to say peed. I was like, me too.
Yeah, I peed. And then yeah. When I was 18, I played in Carnegie Hall.
Oh, wow. That was your life peak?
That's a pretty good one, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Actually, that was very...
that's amazing.
Very wonderful memory. Yeah.
No, that sounds wonderful.
Played Shostakovich Symphony No. 5.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm not even bragging.
No, I know. You're just...
It's fine.
Yeah, but you're also just stating facts.
Yeah. And I'm also double that now. And then some.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That means you've survived up to this point.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's a miracle.
It's a good thing. Anyway, so our intro line, when I was 17,
comma,
it was a very good year.
Yes.
And apologies, I've been quite busy this Wednesday, so the prompt is going to come out probably Thursday morning, but by the time this episode comes out, you will see that prompt on Reddit. So
that's right.
have at it. And
you'll also see these lovely words.
These lovely words are... That's a word?
Oh, what? What is it?
Efflux?
How do you spell that?
EFFLUX?
Okay, I'm going to have to go.
That's a weird one. Excavate. Hemisphere. Admiration. And discriminate.
Okay. All right, so we're starting with...
Efflux.
All right, so efflux... This is the flowing out of a particular substance or particle.
Oh.
For example, the same active efflux of sodium from the cytoplasm to the external medium. Or
sure.
Material that is flowing out. The routing for the jet efflux also needs to be considered.
Good Lord.
Yeah, good luck on that
one.
I
Random word
feel like
generator.
some of you are going to just nail that, but
yeah. No shade if you can't use that one.
No, I just understood what it means, actually. It's the opposite of influx.
Efflux.
Yeah.
Influx, efflux.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like
right on.
influx is flowing in, efflux is flowing out.
They couldn't just do influx and outflux?
No.
No.
They couldn't.
It's too easy.
The efflux, there is an efflux of Cubans in the last 5 years deserting the island.
See, I was trying to equate the prefix like M bark and D bark, but that's different because it's M bark
It is-
and D bark.
You can equate it with emigrant with an E and immigrant with an I.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fascinating.
Yeah, now we know.
Yeah,
now
we do.
know.
So after efflux
Yes.
is
Excavate. Okay, so hey guys, this is some interesting etymology, okay? So excavate is to, well, literally unhole. No, out of hole.
out of hole.
Yeah, out of hole. That's what it is. Because guess what? Kawa,
Cave.
cave.
Hole.
Also cavity.
Excavate. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple.
Take out of the hole.
Remove from the cave.
Right. Yes.
Simple as that.
Right. And it's a verb.
It is a verb. Yeah. And our next word
Is hemisphere.
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 I'll be your hype man for this one.
Yeah. So hemisphere is like a half, you know? Like we've got the northern hemisphere and the right?
Yeah, northern, southern, western, eastern.
Yeah. So it's a half of a sphere.
Yep.
And there's also the brain hemispheres. Yeah, no?
They're described as hemispheres?
I think so.
The left side, left brain, right brain.
I think so.
I've never heard of the brain described as
Really?
as hemispheres or even spherical.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to mention that it comes from the Greek prefix hemi, which means half, and sphaira, which means sphere.
Right. Yeah.
So hold on. Brain hemisphere. Yeah, totally. It's a thing. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Internet is
Left
validating
and
the
right
shit out of that.
hemisphere of the brain, cerebral hemispheres. Yes.
All right, right on.
Yes. Oh, but there are
The music of the hemispheres.
right. Right. There are 4 hemispheres.
Yeah. Front, back, left, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
To the brain?
Yeah. And you know what? Saying 4 hemispheres is ridiculous because hemi means half.
Yeah, and it would ultimately overlap.
No,
by
they're divided
25%.
into the left and the right hemispheres, but then it's like, oh, each hemisphere further subdivides into a frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal lobe. Okay, fair, but that's not a hemisphere.
Yeah, frontal, occipital, temporal. What was the other?
Parietal.
Parietal. That one I don't know where it is.
I don't either, but that's not a hemisphere etymologically, but you know what? Whatever.
Well, didn't it say it's subdivided? It didn't say it was subdivided into other hemispheres. It just said it was each hemisphere is subdivided into the frontal, occipital, temporal, and the fourth that I still can't remember.
Yeah, and that's 4.
Yeah.
So I would call that more of a
Quadrosphere.
Quadrosphere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, anyway. Oh, yeah. And hemisphere is either a noun or a nominal adjective.
Of course.
No, I'm sorry. An adjectival noun.
And our next word.
Admiration. And since we're talking about etymology right now, you know everybody the Spanish word mirar means to look. Mira it means look. Ad means towards, to or towards. So admiration literally means looking towards.
Like looking up.
Looking
I look
towards.
up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's literally looking towards.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You're just like looking at that person and just being like,
I'm admiring you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yes.
admiration comes in many forms. Just like admire the way somebody looks or admire the way somebody is.
Right.
Like the quality of their character and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, there are many qualities to admiration.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, admiration can be an adjectival noun. For example, admiration, hibernation. It's like
What?
when you're admiring somebody so hard that you kind of fall into a trance.
Oh.
That's called admiration.
You admire them so much it just circles right back around into objectification. Yeah. I respect you so much now I'm just objectifying you again.
No, you fall into a trance where you just can't function.
Oh.
That's admiration hibernation.
I would call that admiration paralysis.
Okay.
All right.
You can. Okay. Discriminate is our last word.
Yes.
And discriminate means...
It's kind of a complex word.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's almost like to judge between things.
Yeah. Yeah, between things. Yeah.
Yes, to judge between things. Like, for example, Matt cannot discriminate between certain colors.
Correct.
Which ones?
Most? No, I'm just kidding. Yellow and green are particularly hellacious for myself, but I am technically red-green colorblind.
Okay.
So
Yeah. You can't discriminate between those two colors.
Not well.
Well.
Yeah.
You can't tell
Very
the difference
poorly.
very well.
Yeah.
Okay. And also it's like, like to treat somebody badly because of something innate in them, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Discrimination. Yeah. Many qualities to discrimination.
Yeah.
Many ways to use that word. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be a kind of scientific word. It can be almost like a sociological word.
Mm-hmm. It can be our types of words.
Yeah.
Every single type of them.
So you want to give us a rundown of those words one more time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. So, as I just mentioned, those words are efflux, excavate, hemisphere, admiration, and discriminate. And you must start your next story with the opening line, "When I was 17, it was a very good year."
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed, yes.
I can't wait.
That is the prompt.
I cannot wait to see what y'all do with this.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about this than I was about food.
Okay.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah, because
Food is good.
Food's amazing.
Food is so good.
Yeah. If you want to be like these wonderful writers and submit your story to You Write, head on over to our subreddit at reddit.com/r/YouWritePod.
If you're unable to submit a story this week, that's fine. You can help out by reading and commenting on other people's stories.
Each time you post a story or leave a comment on someone else's submission, you increase your chances of having your story read on the podcast.
You can also reach us at yourwritepod@gmail.com.
If you like our show and want to help support us, please consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/YouWrite.
If you are unable to donate, that's fine. You can help us by sharing the podcast with other writers and non-writers alike.
And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you know as soon as new episodes are available.
The very moment.
The very, very moment.
Also, be sure to leave us a rating and review in your podcatcher of choice.
We will be reading.
We shall
be reading one review on every single episode.
Each one.
Every time.
You shall not pass.
So, get creative.
And remember, join us next week on You Write,
a podcast where you write.
I'd rather be a spider than a snail. Yes,
If I
would.
Oh, yep. If I could, I surely would. See y'all next week.